In this tutorial, we will discuss the question of what are release samples. And this can be relatively easily explained by opening our VSL plugin and loading what is, in effect, a complete string orchestra patch. I'm going to disable the reverb and also switch the release option off in the performance section. And so now we can hear the patches without reverb and with the release sample off. As you no doubt heard, it sounds very dry and slightly strange when the keys are lifted. The reason for this is that a violin or any other string instrument will ring out after the musician has stopped playing. This is due to the fact that the body is in effect still resonating. What happens in this library, and in many others like it, is that as we lift our fingers off the keyboard, a new sample is triggered that contains the resonating sound of the body of the instrument you were playing. And so it sounds much more natural. If you are having difficulty hearing any major differences, then perhaps you should put some headphones on, as you will clearly hear the difference then. If we play with the release samples on, and then with the samples off, you should hear a huge difference. So here, we'll play with the sample release on, and now I'll deactivate the sample release option. In theory, the release samples could include the reverb from a specific environment, but more often than not, it will be easier to add the reverb algorithmically, like we can see here. By adding reverb to the release samples, it all adds up to a much more realistic sounding instrument. Some libraries might offer the option of actually having the room sound within the release sample. And of course, if the orchestra was recorded in a superb sounding room, this could be an excellent option. But it can be too much. So in my opinion, being able to separate the release sample from the reverb is a good thing and gives you more flexibility. One main factor being that you may use different instruments from different libraries, but you want to place them in the same virtual space within your mix. And if some of those instruments already have reverb in the samples, this will not be possible. In those cases, it may be best to turn off sample release. But in the case of VSL, I would almost certainly leave it on. So basically, that covers the topic of what are release samples.